Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to our webinar, More Than Capital Raising. Today, Mark and we are going to speak and tell you more about our services. We are known as a capital raising firm, but we do have a whole range of additional services. We work using two brands, the Blue Mount Capital and the Funding Strategies. The Blue Mount Capital is an investment banking firm and a corporate advisory. We do equity, debt, IPO, including ASX and reverse takeover, mergers and acquisitions. We do investor distributions and connect with funds. We have an AFSL, and we have offices in Perth, Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne. And we are a member of Orion Partners. As a funding strategies, we are a venture capital, finance, equity, and corporate advisory. We specialize in venture capital and debt. Working capital, we help companies to get investor-ready services, and we help with investor distribution. As well, we have an AFSL. We have our offices are in Brisbane, and our partnership is with Blue Mount Capital. As a funding strategies, we are a national firm. We have been around since 2012. We predominantly serve sophisticated investors, emerging and growing private companies, and we deliver a broad range of services, which, as you can see here, include corporate advisory services, strategy, execution, leadership, funding strategies, and investor ready. We help with equity and debt capital raising from 500K to 3 million. We help with investor distribution, venture capital, business exit, advisory board services, and provide opportunities for investors. We act for the company. We have had over 100 clients in the past 11 years and help companies on their journey. We are very experienced team, proven process and industry knowledge. We assist companies with their funding strategies and position the company appropriately. We explore business model and connect the company with right people. We have raised millions of dollars. We have had successful outcomes for investors and for companies. And we connect to all capital and funding options. We provide a strategy and funding options. We coordinate with our clients and run the agreed funding process. We help with the deal making. This is to tell you more about us. What we normally found is that companies focus themselves on more on the business strategies, the business model. However, they don't focus too much in the funding strategies, and that is where we help. As the sweet spot for funding strategies is to raise capital from 500K to 5 million with the early stage growth. However, we with our brand or with the Blue Mount Capital brand, we help the company to go to the whole journey. However, it is important to mention that we don't always help with only capital raising, but we have our whole range of services, which we are going to detail in a second. Okay, we offer a corporate advisory. We offer a strategy, or we serve with a strategy, business option, structure, financial model, roadmap, investment TISA, transaction options, funding pathways, and advisory board. That is what we do in general, but specifically we help with the commercial and corporate debt, raising equity capital, merger and acquisition, buy side, and sell side. With all of them, we offer to help the company with the financial model, with the investment TISA, to outreach investors. We help with the capital structure, and we help to close deals. As a funding strategies, we are a technology industry focus. Our sectors of focus are software, healthcare, energy, resources, mining services, manufacturing, fast-moving consumer goods, food, agriculture, and financial services. As we mentioned before, we have curated deals for investors, and we deal matching and support our investors. We have our partners, as I mentioned before, are Blue Mount Capital. We have specialist lenders and advisors, and we have a large investor network. Our corporate advice is strengthening companies by enabling innovation, assisting with new business models, practice new market opportunities, and strategically supporting the board and operations. We advise emerging and growing companies. With growing companies, our experienced team assists growing companies in terms of corporate advice, business and funding strategies, growth plans, and structuring to move forward. In this, we include a strategic oversight, corporate governance, business plan development, key initiative developments and program management, corporate structure, merger and acquisitions, and management accounting or CFO support. With the turnaround and restructure, if you are looking or you're having problem with cash flow or debts or just managing the business, funding strategies can quickly assist with business strategy options, assisting with obtaining finance or equity, and dealing with stakeholders and providing practical advice. Now, Mark is going to continue with the presentation.
Yeah, thanks, Eugenia, and hello, everyone. So one of the things we do with companies in terms of assisting is quite often helping with governance and helping the directors move the company forward. So that then lends itself to advisory board services or board services. So essentially that's around, as I said, risk management, governance, what's the critical path for the business. Quite often we're able to provide experienced directors that have got industry experience, and quite often it helps with other stages of the company's journey in terms of raising capital or just helping the business generally due to our big network. So we might be able to help with other revenue opportunities or other opportunities as they arise. So that's really around our board and advisory services. We also, over the years, have done a lot of work in the fund space, and I thought I'd just mention it. We've set up a couple of venture funds, so they've got some funny acronyms like ESVCLPs, but essentially we've worked around different structures, unit trusts, and basically, helping folks set those up appropriately and wrapping business models around those, and also helping funds raise capital. So we've got lots of experience around, those sort of structures as well, and that might be appropriate for different types of businesses as they move forward. So one of the main things we do when we're assisting companies is we always start with strategy. Strategy then leads to corporate structure, and then leads to sort of a plan or a roadmap on how the company should move forward and sort of the critical path. So essentially what we do there is run a half-day strategy session. generally with the directors or the founders, and start getting all the issues out on the table. So essentially looking at the current state of the business, the financials, current issues, opportunities, then understanding various complications. So it could be around the structure, different needs of the business or some of the stakeholders, opportunities and issues within the market, and then potentially around exit options or funding options, if you like, for the business. Through that process, we then develop a roadmap, which I'll show you in the next slide, which basically gets down to executing a program of work. And essentially that then helps around governance, because you can then oversee that quarterly and the company's got a plan to move forward. And that also helps us understand the use of capital and other requirements for the business as they grow or move forward. And then the third part of that is, as I indicated, the monitoring piece, which is oversight of the plan. So that might be a quarterly meeting, might be part of the advisory board type work that we're doing, and so that we can oversee the company moving forward, and they've got someone holding their hand, if you like, and taking them on the journey. So this is a dummy roadmap, if you like. So generally, it's got the future state in the top right-hand corner, and then you've got current state on the left. So essentially, we've got time slices, so they could be quarters, could be halves, and we've got various initiatives around the business that need to be implemented by the business. And so the idea here is that as we move forward, if there's opportunities in the business, then we can put them on the roadmap and they stay on the roadmap. And if we can't execute, we can move that initiative or that box into the future, but it still stays on the roadmap. And then obviously you never get to the future state, but you're on the journey. And if you're monitoring that, say, quarterly, it's a really handy tool just to review at a strategy and operational level how things are going. And then obviously, because we've got time and we understand what the initiatives are, we can also understand what resource we need to execute the plan. So one of the issues generally for most businesses is they've got an execution issue, and generally that's a resourcing issue. So if you can plan the resourcing and maybe the funding for that resourcing, then you can execute better. And also having a plan helps you do that. So rather than having a 60-page business plan, we like to have one page, running the company at a high level and then working on the things that we need to work on. So we find that very useful for a lot of our companies that we're working with. Other activities we undertake are buy and sell side. So we've been doing a lot of buy side recently, where we've been buying companies on behalf of a client or funding the purchase of those companies. And we obviously sell companies. So we're doing one at the moment. We're just kicking that off, and we've just had a strategy session, an investor strategy session on who we're going to take it to. So as part of any of these activities, we would be putting together a financial model, putting a forecast. We need to understand valuation and having a look at that. We would then put together appropriate documentation that we can then take to market. And then obviously we strategize around the investors or counterparties that we'd like to take the matter to. And then as part of that process, we're looking to either run a process or get term sheets, and then obviously structure a close with our counterparties. So that would be a sale and purchase agreement or investment document, something like that. So as part of those activities, or generally, one of the things we get approached on is how do the founders exit a business, or how do you exit a business? And so there's a whole range of different ways that can happen. And it could be a management buyout, it could be someone buying the company, could be what we call a trade sale, which would be a trade party Sometimes it's just a straight financial sale. But we've got lots of experience in this space, or it could be even divestment of subsidiaries or parts of the business. So on the right-hand side of the slide is basically a process. So there's always a strategic part to it where we're reviewing the structure and getting advice. Then we're preparing the business for sale or acquisition, and putting that material together, getting the right valuation metrics and providing the right financial advice. Then we're running the transaction. So from our side, that's the execution piece. So we're doing the transaction management, approaching the market, managing the counterparties, doing the deal making. And then if anyone's ever done any M&A, it's really important to get the synergies and the savings that you thought you were going to get as part of the process post the transaction. So there's an opportunity there to, say, put a 100-day plan together and help execute the plan, which then gets back to the roadmap type discussion I've just mentioned. So in terms of exits, that sort of goes hand in hand with M&A, or where so it could be buying or selling the business or businesses, and then basically we're providing from our side the corporate advice on the way through and helping manage whatever the appropriate transaction is. As part of all of these activities, we obviously do financial modelling, and quite often, recently, as we've seen more, I'd say, distressed businesses or businesses that need help in terms of how they're being run, quite often that modelling is cash flow modelling and putting a forecast together and understanding receivables and payables and getting down to that level of detail. In terms of capital raising or M&A, generally we're doing the modelling to understand how much capital we need and also what the potential valuation of the business is. The other comment I'll make is quite often we're seeing a lot of accounting being more tax accounting with the accountants rather than management accounting around how to run the business. And so as part of those discussions, I guess, we've now started appropriately providing bookkeeping or virtual CFO services, where we're now providing that management accounting if the company needs that. So quite often that's around reporting, fixing up the balance sheet, doing proper financial analysis, and just doing the business planning, if you like, which might be, so the company might have a bookkeeper and then they need a bit more management accounting over the top to get them ready for whatever the transaction is the business is contemplating. So the next slide here is just around stuff that we see, and so this is just a general slide that we see, and you can read it. But over the years, and as Eugenia said, we've been running quite a long time, we've seen a lot of mistakes that people make, and these are just some. So quite often when we're doing the accounting, for example, we want to maximise EBITDA and take things to the balance sheet so that the whatever the transaction is, from our side is better packaged. So we've got assets and we understand we've got better profitability. We make sure we've got a good business model. Quite often we're challenging the business model of the client around how they can make more money or do things differently. Quite often the documentation around the company in terms of shareholders agreements and constitutions and just the technical side of it is needs some work. Quite often we see founder loans and other issues with the business, etc., etc. So a lot of the services that we provide deal with these sorts of issues. And one of the reasons we start with strategy quite often around our services is we want to get these issues out on the table so that the business or ourselves or a third party can deal with those appropriately. So over the years, we've dealt with a whole range of clients. So as Eugenia said, under the Funding Strategies brand, we tend to deal with small business and what we call emerging and growing companies. So quite often they're growing quite quickly, maybe don't have a strong balance sheet, need that corporate help as well as help with transactions. So it could be, funding or buying other companies or exiting or whatever it is, or finding a strategic shareholder. And so these are just some of the companies that we've dealt with over the years. And, we continue to see a strong deal flow from our side in terms of people we're working with. I just thought I'd put up a few testimonials. So these companies have worked with us in the past, and the different types of transactions here. These are more funding type transactions, but it gives you a feel of some of the things that we do. So, for example, ADK, that was more of a trade facility that we put in place. So once we did the strategy with them, they really needed finance to help grow the business, and they've subsequently expanded into the US. Instant Consult was our software business, a doctor's platform, and we were able to help with a strategic investor and help with the deal making and negotiating the docs around that one. Nustra was in the logistics space, and so that was an acquisition. So we bought another logistics company, and so we provided the funding and help with the corporate advisory around that. And then Screen Coach was a young business that we helped just with venture capital, for example. So we got an angel investor into that one. So what I'll do is I'll stop there. I just wanted to give you a feel, following on from Eugenia, on other services that we provide. So essentially, we're providing corporate advisory services. Obviously do equity and debt. We're doing the mergers and acquisitions. We do a lot of strategy work. We do a lot of board advisory and helping the owners move the business forward. And then we can do other work as well. So maybe helping from a management accounting or financial modelling and those ancillary services. So I'll open the floor up to questions if anyone's got any questions, and happy to have a chat. So is there has anyone got any particular questions they'd like to ask?
Mark, are you seeing many or certain industries at the moment where there's a strong need for capital in particular? Are there any trends that
I think
so far?
I think you probably know just as much as I do, Adam, there. Certainly there's certain sectors that are in trouble at the moment. So, the building sector's seen dramatic cost increases, input cost increases, and particularly if they're in the fixed price space. So there's a lot of hurt there. Another one that we've seen where people have been struggling a bit is in restaurants and retail food. But there'll be, and on the converse side, we see companies that are growing very strongly and doing really well. So we see, if you like, a range of industries. But so from our point of view, we don't really see, we're not doing enough work in any one industry to see, strong trends, other than probably what we're seeing more of a trend is companies not having a safety net, not having enough working capital, not obviously generally banks aren't providing overdrafts anymore, or that's companies have got less access to overdraft facilities. So quite often we're providing other solutions to bridge and help them move forward. So we've been doing a lot of venture debt deals where we're doing revenue stream funding as an example, so that helps with working capital. So we see all sorts of I guess businesses at them in terms of where they are on the journey.
Yeah, nice. Thanks, Mark.
Mark, I have a question. Have some strategies shown any experience within the clean technologies or EV industry with EV companies?
Sorry, I had trouble understanding that. So it was around technology companies and listening, was it?
Strategies, can you have any experience with clean technology and EV manufacturing companies?
Yeah, sorry, you were still a bit hard to hear, but yeah, so we do a lot we attract a lot of technology companies, and I guess we've helped there, and generally where we're helping is maybe getting funding, but also helping them with the market and expanding the market. And then quite often companies are then looking to, once they've got that growth capital, then they're looking for whatever the exit is, or the next step. So we do a lot of work in that space, but maybe we can have a chat offline, if you want to ping me a note specifically, and we can have a chat.
Certainly.
Any other queries? No? So so feel free to reach out and contact Eugenia or myself. So the way our process works is, we're happy to have an initial confidential chat, or just explore what you're trying to achieve, and then generally we'll come back with a some thoughts on it, or a proposal, depending on where we're sitting. Or if we can't help directly, then we normally try and refer and try and support the company on whatever it's trying to do. So if there's no other queries, what I'll do is I'll just end it there. We've recorded this, so we will send it out so people can review it, and also for those folk that weren't able to attend. So I thank everyone for coming today, and hope you have a great day. Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Mark.
Bye.
Thanks, Eugenia.
Cheers.
Bye.